Hola amores, welcome back to my channel. This is your girl Christina, aka tu vecina favorita que maquilla, and I would first like to say thank you to all 300 plus of my subscribers. I know that I am a small, minuscule channel here on YouTube, but I just want to say that I'm very thankful and appreciative for all of you that have been rocking with your girl, whether it's been for some months, whether you're brand new. I'm so glad that you guys enjoyed my content enough to subscribe. So whether you're here for the makeup or here for these chatty type of videos that I do, thank you. And I would especially like to thank my Dominicans and Dominican Americans out there. Se les quiere bastante. Un beso y un abrazo para ustedes. Yo espero que ustedes me consideren una buena representación de la gente dominicana. So, muchísimas gracias. Thank you for, checking out my videos and listening to my content. So let me just say, when it comes to making videos or speaking on anything related to Dominican culture, Dominican people, I will always do my best to try and uplift and, represent Dominican people in the best way that I can. Like, that is one thing you guys can always expect from me. At the end of the day, I think, Dominican culture it's a beautiful culture. There's so many things, whether it's our music, our dance, our food, there's a lot of things that I feel are worth sharing. So I feel like, I have this platform. So why not, share that love for my culture with other people? For one, I love learning about other cultures, So I feel like for those of you, whether you're Dominican or not, or if you're just interested in learning more about Dominican culture, like if I can give you a little insight into what we do, like why not? So with every society or every group of people, as much as there is good, there is going to be certain aspects that are not so great and that require it needs some work. There's definitely room for improvement among the Dominican people when it comes to certain things. Okay, now if you ever catch me critiquing or kind of highlighting something about Dominican people or Dominican culture that is not so positive, I just want to say it is never coming from a bad place. It is always going to be out of a place for love, because I have love for my culture and for my people. But, there are certain things that, in my opinion, I feel it still needs some work. That's that. So you're never going to catch me bashing Dominicans or anything like that. Again, if I point out anything that I feel is kind of negative, it's because I feel like there's room for improvement there. So one thing that really irks me, okay, and this is not just specific to Dominican people. I think any Hispanic Americans or, first generation Hispanics that were born, to immigrant parents can relate to this. But one thing that really annoys me is when certain Dominicans that were born in DR or, were living in DR, they come under Dominican Americans, such as myself, videos and make comments like, you're not really Dominican, you're American, you don't need to be speaking for us, okay? Just yesterday, I had someone say that to me. They were like, you're not really Dominican, you're American, go with your African Americans, we don't need you in our community, okay? This person said that to me. I was like, wow, the hate is real. Okay, so you're just going to completely disregard the millions of Dominicans and Dominican Americans that were either born or living in the United States. Okay, you don't want to hear my opinion? Because he said something like that too, like, we don't need your opinion. Like, yo, you don't got to listen to me. I am a tiny channel here on YouTube. Go find another Dominican YouTuber, one that was born in DR if you don't want to listen to me. Like, you don't have to listen to my opinion. Anyway, I ended up blocking his ass. But that type of shit, it just annoys the hell out of me. Because I'm like, who are you to tell me what culture, whatever I can or cannot identify with? Like, isn't this the same thing y'all claim these black people stay trying to do to you guys, and then you're going to turn around and do this to me? Like, mi hermano, you picked the wrong one, okay? Yes, I was born in the United States, but I was born to Dominican immigrant parents who brought their culture with them. I was raised in a very Dominican household, surrounded by my Dominican family, which is huge. Okay, I have been going back and forth to DR since I was literally an infant. I was 6 months old the first time I went to DR, and I've been going ever since. Like on spring breaks when I was still, in school, I would stay there for a month and a half, 2 months. So I was like immersed in the culture. I was like basically living there for that short period of time. So I'm very well acquainted with both American and Dominican culture. Okay. So don't come under my videos telling me I'm not really Dominican, blah, blah, blah. Like obviously my nationality is American. I was born here in the United States, but my culture, the culture that I was brought up with is Dominican. Okay. So y'all can miss me with that bullshit. Like, no. I like if I see any more comments like that, they're gonna get deleted. You gonna get blocked. Like, I don't want to hear that shit. So that is the first thing. And then it's like, okay, so obviously growing up in the US, so not only am I like well acquainted with Dominican culture, but you're exposed to a bunch of different cultures here in this country. You're exposed to other Hispanic cultures, you're exposed to African American culture, you're exposed to Asian culture, and I guess you could even say white culture. Like you're exposed to a lot. And I think that's great. I like that I can, be blasting Anthony Santo or El Alfa 1 minute, and then if I want to switch over to Drake or Beyonce the next, I can do that. Like I love that duality that we have as Dominican Americans or Hispanic Americans, whatever. Like we can enjoy both sides. Like I love that. And but when it comes to relating to other groups of people, I feel like I can only relate but so much. So African Americans, for example, I think African Americans and Hispanics can relate on a lot of levels because in the grand scheme of things here in this country, we're all minorities. So the minority experience is very similar for different groups of people. There's a lot of things that I feel that we share when it comes to that. Where racism and oppression is an equal opportunity distributor. Like you can get discriminated against or whatever being a Hispanic just as much as you can being an African American in this country. So we can definitely relate on that level. However, when it comes to like the generational experiences, the stories that are passed down from, their grandparents to their parents down to them. Like when I hear stories from my African American friends of things that, people in their family or older generations experienced, whether it was back when segregation was still a thing or, having lived through the civil rights movement, and just really a lot of it is based on like the racism they faced in this country. I can't entirely relate because my parents' experience was totally different. My parents grew up in a third world country, in the campo, okay, like straight up rural country part of DR. So the stories I heard growing up were how, when my mom was coming up, the women had to go walk, a mile or whatever to the river to go wash their clothes. How she didn't own her first pair of shoes until she was 12 years old. My dad, they grew up in the same campo, but his family ended up moving to the capital. But he was in the streets shining shoes at the age of 6, okay? And my mother even says, even as a teenager and young adult, there were nights that she went to sleep hungry because her family could not afford to buy food for everyone, okay? So they weren't dealing with racism, but they were dealing with, just being poor. Again, their experiences were totally different. So those were the stories that I grew up hearing. And, I feel like these generational stories that are passed down from generation to generation, like they really do shape you at the end of the day. Even though you may not have personally experienced the things that your family members went through, I think, it really does leave, an impact on you. It leaves an impression on you. So I feel like, for African Americans, the things that their families have experienced, it greatly shapes the way that they are and the way that they think. Like it definitely, shapes their outview on things and how they view racism in this country and things like that. And then for me, my parents' experiences coming from such humble beginnings in a country that is still largely poor in a lot of areas, I feel like that shaped me as well, and that it definitely made me a lot more humble, because a lot of the times that I've been to DR, I would stay in the campo. So, I experienced kind of what it's like living that, having to take a shower with buckets, not having running water in the house, having the light go out for like 10 hours out the day, sleeping with a mosquitero, with, having to pee in a vacinilla next to the bed at, in the middle of the night, things like that. Like using an outhouse, those are all things that I experienced. And I wasn't like, oh my God, I cannot deal with this. Like, I'm too bougie. Like, no, that was never my experience. I was like, okay, well, that's what we got to do. That's what we got to do. So I feel like all of their experiences have also shaped who I am as a person as well. So again, at the end of the day, the culture that I identify with the most is Dominican. Like, I feel like that is what I can relate to the most. And I can especially relate to other Dominican Americans or first generation Hispanics, again, that are, whose parents are immigrants. Like, that is the experience that I can relate the most to. I mean, and, my parents, they were eventually able to come to this country and, live out their American dream. And they eventually brought over all their family. And here we are. So I feel like to tell me that I can't call myself Dominican or claim my Dominican culture, like, shut the F up. Like, get out my face with that shit. I don't want to hear it. Okay? So that's that. That is the first part of my rant. Now, the second part. Okay, how do I even start with this part? Okay, so when it comes to speaking on Dominican culture, right? So I feel like if I were to make a video talking about the cultural contributions of the Taino people to the current Dominican culture, it will be greatly received. I'll get a lot of likes on it. People will comment, engage with the video. Great. Might even get a few new subbies from it. Cool. Now, say I were to make a video about the European contributions to Dominican culture, which isn't, in fact, a lot, whether people realize it or not. I mean, I could speak on the way in which we greet each other by kissing each other on the cheek. That's a European thing. I could speak on, Catholicism and the influence of the Catholic religion on Dominicans. I'm not Catholic, but most Dominicans are Catholic. And then, of course, all the traditions and stuff that comes with that. Besando la mano to all your elders. I could speak on the fact how our biggest dances are, couple paired type of dances. That's, that style of dancing is definitely European derived. I could speak on the heavy use of guitar and accordion in Dominican music. Again, European derived. It will be greatly received. People will like it. I'll get comments on it like, good job, blah, blah, blah. Cool. At the end of the day, I know people or some people don't always realize that, there is actually a heavy European influence on Dominican culture too. So whatever. Now, if I make a video on the African cultural contributions to Dominican culture, or I just speak on our Blackness in general, I already know it's not going to be received in the same way. I'm not going to necessarily say that people will dislike it, but it's not going to get as many likes. And God forbid I use the term Afro-Latino or Afro-Latina. That is apparently a huge trigger word for some Dominicans out here. And they will come for your ass, okay? Like, I already experienced that because I did. Well, some of you guys already know. I made a video about being Afro-Latina. But it was more so about my experiences being a dark-skinned Hispanic in an area where there weren't so many dark-skinned Hispanics. So anyway, look, I know that term, I get why some people don't like it. I myself kind of had mixed feelings with the term, not because of what it represents, but because it does kind of separate us from other Latinos. Like, now we're creating this subcategory. So, I get it, because initially in my mind, I was like, why can't we just all be Latinos? Like, why now does there have to be this subcategory? But and then some people will say, well, then if you're going to call yourself Afro-Latino because you're predominantly African, then what am I supposed to call myself? Euro Latino now? No. You don't have to do that. I don't think you should do that. But the difference between the two is that for a lot of Hispanics, their blackness is something that for many years, for generations, was looked down on. And let's keep it real, when it comes to Dominican people, Dominican culture, not all, but some, they don't really want to claim that African or black cultural, I don't know, what's the word? They don't want to claim our blackness. I mean, it is what it is. We already have a very bad rap for that. And I am a firm believer that most Dominicans do not deny their blackness. But again, keeping it real, there are some that will try to minimize it, okay? And so I had someone say this to me yesterday, or comment this about me, because I commented on another Dominican's ancestry video, and this one happened to be like 70-something% European, so he basically white. And y'all already know, I've already said there's a lot of white Dominicans. Like, we're not all black. As much as people want to label Dominicans as just black, we're not. We are a mixture of different things, and some Dominicans are predominantly white. But I had another person comment under my comment saying basically like, man, this girl, she's always claiming Afro-Latino that. She, what did they say? That I've basically been brainwashed by African Americans and Haitians, and I'm now trying to push their agenda onto Dominicans. I was like, what? Where did this come from? Okay, first of all, I don't even know any Haitians in real life, to be honest. I don't know any Haitians. The only Haitians that I've kind of come across like in passing has been in DR, but I haven't actually had the chance to like really sit there and have a conversation with a Haitian person. Like an area where I live, there may be Haitians here, but I don't know not one. Okay. And then when it comes to African Americans, listen, I grew up alongside African Americans. Some of my best friends in the whole world are African American. So one thing you're not going to hear me do on this channel as a Dominican is bash African Americans or bash Haitians. You're not going to find that from me. So if you're a Dominican that wants to hear another Dominican like continuing this whole anti-black, anti-Haitian, anti-African American bullshit, I ain't the one. Like, no. Okay? I have never experienced from any of my African American friends them trying to supposedly force their ideology on me, trying to force me to identify a certain type of way. At the end of the day, they obviously know that I have African ancestry, you know, among other things, but they've always just said I'm Dominican. And that's that. You know, they've been around my family. Some of them I've been friends with for 15, 20 years. So they've grown up alongside me and my family. They've participated in my family parties, been around all these Dominican people, and vice versa. I've been around them and their families, and it's always been nothing but love on both ends. My family has warmly welcomed them around, and their families have welcomed me. So it's never been this whole, I don't know, man. It's like, I mean, I know that there is obviously some real issues going on between Dominicans and Haitians. Like, it is what it is. The immigration and illegal immigration situation going on over there, it's real. And I also know that here in the U.S., there are issues between African Americans and Dominicans. Like, I'm not denying that either, but that is not my experience at all. Therefore, you're not going to see me regurgitating that bullshit. Okay? Point blank, period. What's so crazy to me about that, it's like, when did speaking on our blackness, something that is literally a part of the Dominican genetic, historical, and cultural identity, when, like, how does that now equate you being an Afrocentric? Because I got called that. Like, how? I don't understand. Sometimes I'm like, yo, do y'all hear the shit that be coming out of y'all's mouths? Like, if I speak on us being Taino-European, nobody got a problem. But the minute I speak on the fact that we are also black, now, oh, I'm an Afrocentric. Now I've been brainwashed. Now I'm trying to push an agenda onto other Dominicans. Like, bruh, miss me with that bullshit. Like, what does this whole Afrocentric shit even mean? Because I see this word getting tossed around a lot by some of these Dominicans. And I'm like, what does that mean? And if you really took the time to listen to my videos, I don't think you would be calling me that. Because one thing I don't do is try to force all Dominicans to identify as Black. Because at the end of the day, not all Dominicans are Black or majority Black. Of course, we're all mixed with Black. But I'm sorry, I just can't call a person that is like three quarters white a Black person. Like, I don't, like, I know that's a thing here because, you know, the one drop rule and all that shit, but I don't necessarily believe or think that way. So it's just so crazy to me. Like, and that just shows the issue, which is still ingrained with many Dominicans when it comes to identifying with their Blackness. And it's a problem, y'all. It is still a problem. You know I made a video kind of speaking on this and why I feel that some Dominicans don't necessarily identify that much with their Africanness or their Black roots or whatever. And again, I don't think most Dominicans deny it. I do believe that most Dominicans are fully aware of the fact that we have Black roots along with, you know, white and, you know, Native. But it's just some of y'all just need to chill out, okay? Just chill out. Like, why are you getting so wound up because another person speaks on something that is literally part of what we are? Like, what is the problem? Like, I don't get it. I don't. So, I mean, I ended up blocking that person too. So, I don't know, guys. This shit is just crazy to me because, you know, one thing about me is even though I was born here, I have always made it a point to learn and research about Dominican culture and history myself. So when I come on here and say something or speak on something related to, you know, the Dominican Republic or Dominican culture or Dominican people, granted, some of it will be opinion, but I make sure that what I'm speaking is facts, okay? I'm not just going to come on here just talking a bunch of bullshit about stuff that I don't know or what I think is the case or blah, blah, blah. Like, no, I make sure that I research, get my facts so that I can speak truth to you guys, okay? So, again, these people, I mean, luckily, most of the experience I've had or interactions I've had with Dominicans on here, whether, I don't know if they were all, like, whether they're born in DR or whether they were born here, but for the most part, it has been positive. So thank you to you Dominicans that are able to appreciate what I say. At the end of the day, I'm always going to defend my people and, you know, try to explain why, you know, we may think differently on certain things or view race or things like that a different way compared to, say, the way maybe African Americans view it. But, you know, I always try to be fair to all sides because, again, being Dominican but also being American and having been raised in America, I'm able to see both sides and I can understand both sides. So I always try to present, you know, both sides to the situation. But anyway, oh man, there's definitely some haters out here. And, you know, being on social media, whether you're here on YouTube, on Instagram, whatever, you do kind of have to develop a tough skin because at the end of the day, not everybody's going to like what you have to say. Clearly, there's some Dominicans on here that don't like what I have to say, even though I don't feel that I'm saying anything bad. I'm speaking nothing but facts. Like, I don't know, y'all. I don't know. Some need help. That's all I can really say. But anyway, okay, I think this video has gone on long enough. That is the end of my rant. Again, thank you to all of you guys for watching my videos. Thank you for those of you that have subscribed. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button down below. I do a little bit of everything. I do a little bit of vlog videos. I do a lot of makeup videos, which is the primary foundation of my channel, makeup and beauty. And then, of course, I always do a little video here and there dedicated to my Dominican culture. So, all right, guys. Los quiero mucho. Un beso, un abrazo para ustedes. And I'll see you all in the next video. Bye.